Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. We have some breaking news today that I wanted to, just at the very top of the show, I wanted to have my friend, Steve Baker, Blaze Media's investigative journalist, on to discuss it because, well, it's about January 6th, Steve.
Yes, it is.
And Steve is our very own January 6er, okay? So
more ways than one.
Like it or not, that's what he is. And so I wanted to bring you on here to break down our breaking news involving January 6th. And so I just want to play. Let's go ahead and play as a refresher. Let's set the stage with FBI Director Chris Wray, who I want to talk about later. He did just recently resign right before today's DOJ IG Inspector General report dropped conveniently. The day before this report dropped, Chris Wray says, peace out. Okay. And so I want to get into what dropped today. But before we do that, I want to give a little refresher here. So let me play back in November 2022, Chris Wray being asked about whether or not there were FBI informants, was the FBI involved on the ground at the Capitol on January 6th? And this is what Chris Wray had to say.
Does the FBI have confidential human sources? Did the FBI have confidential human sources embedded within the January 6th protesters on January 6th of 2021?
Well, Congressman, as I'm sure you can appreciate, I have to be very careful about what I can say about when
now, because that's what you told us 2 years ago.
May I finish? About when we do and do not, and where we have and have not used confidential human sources. But to the extent that there's a suggestion, for example, that the FBI's confidential human sources or FBI employees in some way instigated or orchestrated January 6th, that's categorically false.
Did you have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters inside the Capitol on January the 6th prior to the doors being open?
Again, I had to be very careful.
It should be a no.
Why?
Can you not tell the American people no? We did not have confidential human sources dressed as Trump supporters positioned inside the Capitol.
Gentleman's time has expired.
You should not read anything into my decision not to share information
Director Wray,
about confidential human.
Your non-answer? Okay. Okay, good buddy. So 2 years later, July 2024, okay, this year, he was again asked about agents at the Capitol, and here is that exchange.
Again, I'm never going to be getting into when and where we have or have not used confidential human sources. But
are you willing to stand the record that you had no confidential human sources that went into Capitol on January 6th?
As I've said consistently, I'm not going to get into where we have or have not used
But why
confidential
not?
human sources.
If the answer is no, you could just say no, right? And so now, breaking today, one day after FBI Director Chris Wray resigned, the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz released his highly anticipated report on the FBI's handling of its confidential human sources and intelligence collection efforts in the lead up to the January 6th, 2021 electoral certification. And so they say there was no evidence of undercover FBI agents in the crowd, but the report confirmed the presence of at least 26 FBI informants in Washington, D.C. during January 6th. 4 entered the Capitol in the middle of everything that was going on. None have been prosecuted, by the way. 13 entered restricted areas around the Capitol, which, of course, was a security perimeter for the certification. And there were 9 that did not do any of those things, but those 9 could have engaged with, say, the Proud Boys in the march leading up to the Capitol. So we don't know. And the report said that out of the 26, only 3 were authorized to be in D.C. Obviously, none of them were authorized to, do what Steve is currently being, lawfared over, enter the Capitol, enter a restricted area, break the law. You didn't encourage anyone to commit illegal acts, no violence, nothing like that. But these people were not authorized to do any of that. So you have this report that comes out, and I can't wait to get your thoughts, Steve. I'm sure you have a lot of them swimming around in that big brain of yours. But immediately upon seeing this, I thought to myself, okay, This is clearly like they hope that they can trickle out a little bit of information that's probably bogus. It doesn't tell the whole story, and hope that all of this goes away because everyone will say, ha ha, we knew that there were FBI people that were involved, and here we have FBI. We knew it all along, and then they're going to move on to the next thing. Because I'm thinking, if this is what they're willing to put on the record, what are they still keeping from us? This is an administration that is plagued with stonewalling, with blocking us from finding out information. They clearly are hiding a lot. And so my initial thought was, I just still feel like there's way more to the story.
There might be. There just might be. But it might not be in this report. Mm-hmm. This report might be the biggest nothing burger they've ever released. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of amused looking at X today after this report came out, and all of the social media influencers and clickbait chasers are, this is it. You know, we've got them. 26 confidential human sources in the crowd. Right. We got them. We didn't know that. Let me tell you something. We've known for 4 years that the Proud Boys probably had more than that just embedded in the 200 of them that were marching that morning long before the president ever even took the stage at the Ellipse. We've known about that forever. And then we've also known forever, 6 weeks after January 6th, my second article that I wrote about January 6th, I revealed that the FBI had special tactical assets in the crowd, which are referenced in this IG report, which probably numbered in the hundreds in and of itself. But here's what everybody's really, I think they're trying to, what's the best way to say it? I think they're just stumbling over this word undercover. Okay. First of all, FBI agents, as a matter of course, average every workaday special agent is wearing plain clothes every day. And they don't even do the coat and tie, the black tie anymore. The Hoover era is over. So when they show up at your house and knock on the door, to want to question you about some social media post or something like that, they're wearing flannel shirt, t-shirts, button downs. It's basically a free for all now. They're plain clothes by nature, and so the fact that they had multiple FBI agent or offices in the area, that place was swarmed with agents that day. Just because they were wearing plain clothes doesn't mean they were undercover. Now, when you say undercover, in this IG report says there were no undercovers that day. Mm-hmm. That's a lawyerly, truthful statement.
What do you mean? Because
being undercover is an actual special deployment position or posture. That's when, now, if any of the FBI agents were wearing Trump gear that day, which we don't know, but if they had a MAGA hat on and a Trump scarf, then that might be considered undercover to blend in with the crowd. But see, I wasn't wearing that day any MAGA gear or any political statements whatsoever on any of my clothing that day. I was just plain clothes. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't trying to blend in. I just wore what was warm, right? For me that day. Right. And that was my only thought. But the average person walking a few blocks, special agent walking a few blocks from the main Hoover building there, down to the Capitol, he would just put on his coat and walk out. And he's there in plain clothes, probably wearing jeans or, khakis or whatever. And that doesn't mean that he was undercover, because when you go undercover, that's for a specialized operation. All right. So there's a big difference there. So when they say in the report, we had no undercover operatives working that day, that's, as I said, a lawyerly way of saying, okay, well, we're not going to talk about how many plain clothes assets we had that day.
So they're trying to manipulate language to try to make it sound like they didn't have anyone. What you and I, or perhaps viewers of the program, would determine to be undercover.
Yeah, and here's
semantics game.
I'll read you a sentence from the report. It says, "We found no evidence in the materials we reviewed or the testimony we received showing or suggesting that the FBI had undercover employees in the various protest crowds are at the Capitol on January 6th. You see that? A lawyerly statement. It goes on. Let me read it a little bit more. We determined that of the 26 CHSs, the confidential human sources, who were in D.C. on January 6th in connection with the events of January 6th, 4 entered the Capitol during the riot. An additional 13 entered the restricted area around the Capitol, which was a security perimeter established in preparation for the January 6th certification. Now, they're going to focus on, and the clickbaiters are going to focus on this 26 as we got you.
Sure.
They're also going to focus on that 4 that went inside and that 13 that went in the restricted area. Because, see, when you are a CHS, there's a higher level because you are now under an understanding you cannot commit a crime that day. You cannot purposefully commit a crime when operating as a paid CHS of the FBI. So everybody's going to focus on this 26 and this 4 and this 13. That's not the bigger picture. The bigger picture, first of all, is that there were likely hundreds of FBI plainclothes agents in the crowd. That's not necessarily nefarious. The one, as we've talked about before on this show, the one moral function of government is to protect us from, fraud and force. Well, it's great that we have operatives in crowds that are always looking and always on the ready, looking for people that might be wanting to do nefarious things. Now, what is nefarious is if they were there, why did they not assist the Capitol Police when it was time and when the violence broke out? And then,
did they help instigate it?
Well, and we don't know that, do
Right.
we? Because we haven't started on the process of talking about agents provocateur yet. We haven't gone down that path. But more importantly, there's another phrase here that we have to look at inside this report. Over and over again, it refers to specialized tactical assets. We know, and as I pointed out, 6 weeks after January 6th, I still think that I'm the first one to report it. It was 10 months later that Newsweek actually ran a story headlined that the FBI had in the crowd special commandos with shoot to kill orders. And then when you read the body of the article from the military, Army, Special Ops, that was Newsweek. That was on the first anniversary week of January 6th that they reported that. I scooped them by 10 and a half months. But the point being is that those assets were there in large numbers deployed nearby. So what did the FBI know? Why did they have every single tactical unit and SWAT team of every 3-letter federal agency at the Capitol that day? What did they know?
Right.
When did they know it?
When did they know it?
And then the next question is then why did they not assist the Capitol Police and the Metro PD in stopping the crowd? Because let me tell you something. You put 200 you didn't need 10,000 National Guard troops. You put 200 tactical units of those federal agencies at the doorways, the entranceways of the building.
Right.
Nobody's
No one's
going
getting in. No one, and I don't think anyone tries to get in, really. So, okay, let me just ask you this, Steve, before we go to break here. I was reading a certain part of the report. It said that one of the confidential human sources who entered the Capitol on January 6th, obviously there are a lot of people who have gone to jail for that for years. There is you, who your life hangs in the balance of this court case over it. That guy actually got his travel expenses to D.C. on January 6th reimbursed by the FBI.
Right.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, well, I have a lot of feelings about a lot of these things. But look, there were confidential human sources, I'm telling you, in greater numbers than what is being reported by this, this IG report.
I just don't believe any of it. If you guys were willing to put this on the record, I just don't believe you.
And this doesn't include all of the CHSs that were involved that didn't come, that were embedded in the various groups, whether we're talking about the 3%ers, the Ohio militia and the this and that other militia, the Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys. They were all deeply embedded with them in reporting in advance. The point being is that there was not anything that was not known by the FBI before this happened. This was not a surprise. It was allowed to happen.
Yeah. and perhaps instigated as well. Okay. All right. Let me remind you guys before we do go to break, go subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you're subscribed. Okay. We make $0 from this show every day on YouTube. $0 since April of 2023. And those of you who didn't catch the show just recently, where I said we just recently reapplied for monetization, Steve.
I heard.
It was denied again because they don't like us telling the truth. Okay. So we make $0. All we're asking you to do is go ahead and hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed and comment because it will help us in the algorithm, which obviously is very much stacked against us. All right, we got to go to break. I want to thank our sponsor here, this segment, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is there for those of you who you live in constant pain. You think that that's your life now. Knee pain, neck pain, back pain, whatever the case may be. Try Relief Factor. It's an all-natural anti-inflammatory that was developed by doctors who were tired of giving their patients stuff that made them loopy. They didn't want to make their patients loopy anymore. So this is very, very potent. I know it's all natural, which some of you men out there might be like, oh, it's all natural, so it doesn't work. No, the opposite, actually. They have a 3-week quick start, and 70% of the people who order that go on to keep ordering more. It's working for that many people. So the odds are in your favor that it can work for you. And let's face it, be life-changing if it does, because if you can get out of pain, typically that really is life-changing. So go to relieffactor.com, get that 3-week quick start over at relieffactor.com. All right, joining Steve and I along for the ride, we have Logan Hall. He is Blaze Media's digital strategist, and he's also a married man now. Congratulations.
Yeah, officially
Yay.
married, yes.
How's it feel?
Congrats.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yes.
And you, I mean, it's been what, 5 days, and you still love each other.
Yep.
So that's great.
Yeah, she still loves me 5 days later. I know that might come as a shock. But
Yeah, no. Well, she's beautiful, and congratulations. Now go have lots of very, very conservative based little babies.
we're working on it.
Okay. So I want to, let's kind of go back to what I briefly mentioned at the top of the show, which was, of course, that FBI Director Chris Wray yesterday announced his resignation right before this Inspector General report. And I want to play a little bit of his announcement yesterday. Watch.
After weeks of careful thought, I've decided the right thing for the Bureau is for me to serve until the end of the current administration in January and then step down.
That's
My
convenient.
goal is to keep the focus on our mission, on the indispensable work each of you is doing every single day. And in my view, this is the best way to avoid dragging the Bureau deeper into the fray while reinforcing
What?
the values
Fray
and
of
principles
what?
that are so important in how we do our work.
Oh, okay.
Now, it should go without saying, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyways. This is not easy for me. I love this place. I love
I bet
our
you
mission.
do.
And I love our people.
Bet you do.
But my focus is, and always has been, on us and on doing what's right for the FBI. Because when you look at where the threats are headed, it is clear that the importance of our work, protecting the American people and upholding the Constitution, will not change.
From
And what absolutely
parents at school board
positively
meetings
cannot,
and, yeah, we'll
must
get into
not
all that.
change is our commitment to doing the right thing in the right way every time. Our adherence to our core values, our dedication to independence and objectivity, and our defense of the rule of law. Did you
Those
say
say objectivity?
fundamental aspects of
And rule
who
of
we
law?
are must never change.
Oh my gosh.
That's the real strength of the FBI.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I'm really glad that he is stepping down because I know that there were a lot on the left who were like, he gets a 10-year term. Donald Trump can't replace him. Yeah, he can. But I want to talk about what the FBI has looked like for the last 4 years, what the FBI has looked like under Chris Wray, because I would say that he should have been, I mean, let's talk about the criminal acts that have taken place with the FBI. Let's talk about why there are people such as, I mean, I know I can speak for me. I don't want to speak for you guys, but there are a whole hell of a lot of us who say burn the whole freaking thing down because that's the only way that you're going to rebuild from the ashes. So let's get into let's revisit.
I think I'm on board with burning everything.
Okay, I figured that you were, but I didn't want to speak for you. So let's revisit some of these. All right. October 4th, 2021. That was when, of course, AG Merrick Garland directed the FBI to use counterterrorism tools to target parents speaking out at school board meetings against transing their kids and CRT. So they're like, we don't want you to train our kids to believe something that is not true and also believe that if they're white, they're racist. So you had, National School Boards Association sending this letter to Joe Biden in 2021. You had August 2022, the FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah, let's not forget.
Let's not forget that the unprecedented raid on Mar-a-Lago over classified freaking documents that meanwhile Joe Biden had his right next to his Corvette that his crackhead son drove. So let's listen to Donald Trump on that FBI raid.
Are you going to fire the current FBI director, Christopher Wray, who you appointed?
Well, I can't say I'm thrilled with him. He invaded my home. I'm suing the country over it. He invaded Mar-a-Lago.
The raid on Mar-a-Lago, the house manager texts you and says the FBI is outside the house. They had access to my bedroom, closets, office, and rummaged through my personal items. Even searched Barron's room, you say. So how invasive was that? Did it make you angry? How did you feel?
Yeah, it made me angry. Yes.
All right. Donald Trump.
Justifiably so.
Of course, they're going through her panty drawer. They're going through her son's bedroom. So, of course, Donald Trump he mentioned suing the country because what they did was a Fourth Amendment violation. Okay, that's, of course, what the lawsuit alleges. So then you have January 2023, you have the Richmond memo. The Richmond office memo on traditional Catholics. They were targeting, of course, Catholic Americans due to their religious beliefs. And then you have, let's go to December of that same year. You had in the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, Senator Josh Hawley confronting Christopher Wray about this. And here is, of course, what Christopher Wray is really good at deflecting and not taking responsibility. If you didn't realize that, you will soon find that out. Watch.
But I can tell you that we don't investigate people for their exercise of their constitutionally protected religious expression. That particular intelligence product is something that as soon as I saw it, I was aghast. I had it withdrawn.
Really? You were aghast?
I was.
Oh, really?
Yes,
and what
sir.
have you done about it? Did you fire the people who wrote it?
No, I had it withdrawn.
Have you fired anybody involved in it?
Senator, if you would give me a chance to answer
That's a
your
yes
question.
or a no. It's not hard. Have you fired anyone involved in the writing
Yes or no?
of that outrageous memo about which, frankly, you've repeatedly misled the public? Yes or no?
The individuals involved in that
Have you
product
fired
were
anyone?
not, just a minute.
Oh,
were
my
not
gosh.
found to have engaged in any intentional or bad faith conduct. And in fact, Senator, a number of the individuals involved in writing that product in the Richmond office were themselves Catholics. So the notion that they were targeting their own faith
so they
is
have a
nonsense.
get out of jail free card. I see. So you're immune and they're immune. So we shouldn't ask questions about it. You haven't done a darn thing. You haven't fired anybody.
So it would be a breach of federal statutes like the Religious Freedom Restoration Act that says governments should not substantially burden religious exercise without compelling justification. And I want to get your thoughts, gentlemen, but I'm not done. Okay, I'm almost done. June 2023, failure to investigate bribery allegations against former Vice President Joe Biden, while, of course, scrutinizing former President Trump. So you had Chuck Grassley and James Comer highlighting this FBI document. You remember the FBI document. This was FD 1023, which detailed allegations from a confidential human source claiming that the Bidens received $10 million in bribes. Didn't want to look at that. Okay. June 7th, 2023, during a House Oversight Committee meeting, Christopher Wray agreed to allow members of Congress to review that particular document in a secure setting, but still would not confirm any ongoing investigation into the allegations, which he should have, because today, December 12th, 2024, Alexander Smirnov, this is a former FBI informant, pleaded guilty to fabricating evidence and lying about allegations that the Biden received $10 million in bribes. So you probably should have looked into it. He probably should have done some work into it. So, I mean, let's willfully obstructing an investigation. We could go on and on and on.
You could do the whole episode.
The whole episode on the amount of bullshit the country has had to deal with FBI Director Chris Wray at the helm of things. But I want to let me just give you one more, guys. Okay. It's not I mean, we could maybe stretch to call it a crime, but let's focus more on just the disgusting nature of someone who works at that level in government, who right after someone shot Donald Trump in the head, okay, July 2024, during a House Judiciary Committee meeting, Chris Wray suggested that, well, it could have been just shrapnel. Okay, watch.
I think with respect to former President Trump, there's some question about whether or not it's a bullet or shrapnel that hit his ear. So it's conceivable. Although, as I sit here right now, I don't know whether that bullet, in addition to causing the grazing, could have also landed somewhere else.
Okay. Do you know that someone was up on the freaking roof trying to shoot him?
Cartridges.
Is that not the point? But no, he wants you to know that Trump may have lied. It could have just been shrapnel. What a disgusting ghoul of a person. Thank God he decided, for whatever reason, to step down before Donald Trump came and cleaned him out anyway.
Let's also not forget the famous video of our own Steve Baker being arrested and booked by the FBI here in Dallas. You asked what it looked like over the past 4 years. It's looked like a secret police force out of the Soviet Union. It is crazy what they've done. They lie to Congress. There's zero, as you showed in the video clips there's zero accountability whatsoever. These people are just liars. They are essentially a fourth or fifth branch of government. They have no oversight whatsoever. It's crazy. And so I think Wray knew he was going to be either had to resign or he was going to be fired by Trump.
1,000%.
But it's good that he got out there, and hopefully they get cash confirmed, and then he can go in there and bring some accountability. But I honestly think Director Wray has to go to jail, or a lot of these people have to go to jail, or it's just going to keep happening.
It's just going to keep happening anytime that they're in charge. But yeah, I mean, to hear Chris Wray give his resignation speech, and he's just like, oh, we believe in, objectivity and the rule of law.
Your indispensable work. Your indispensable work of what? Helping the jail MAGA grandmas? Right, are you kidding me?
Well, right. It's like, your indispensable work of showing up at pro-life protesters' homes and raiding them, traumatizing their family, showing up at J6ers, harassing them for, Steve, how many years?
It's been almost 4 years now.
Okay. All right. Almost 4 years of people's lives are being harassed by the FBI. I mean, we could go on and on and on. Parents, as I mentioned, it's just that is the indispensable work that Logan mentions that he, of course, brings up.
And here's the unfortunate and really ugly elephant in the room is we have to remember who appointed him.
I know.
This is really, and this brings us to the overriding point is that this is why it's so important that he gets it right this time. And of course, he's had years to study and learn from his mistakes. But in a position like that, Wray may have done more damage, maybe Merrick Garland, but they're two peas in a pod, and so it's the same. It's a left hand and the right hand of evil up there when you're talking about the DOJ and the FBI and what it's become. But it has to be better. It certainly will be better with Kash Patel. But that's why these appointments are so important to get right. The damage he has done. And I'll tell you, just to throw in one more anecdote here, since we're talking about the FBI, is I've spoken to my FBI agent about some of these things that they've done, particularly SWAT rating misdemeanor offenders. Okay. The FBI has never done that in the 100+ year history of the FBI. They've never so much as investigated a misdemeanor offense in the history of the FBI. And I actually threw this out in the face of my own personal investigative agent, Craig Noyes. Hi, Craig. I know I can't drunk text you anymore. It's on one of my pretrial restrictions. But hi.
Can you sober text him?
Oh no. Not according to the language of my restrictions, but he obviously still keeps up with me and watches me, or somebody does, because my judge quoted me from my journalism in my last hearing. But anyway, so the point being is that I brought this up to him, and I said, and I'm ranting at him in the parking lot of the FBI field office just outside of Raleigh, and I'm ranting at him, and I'm telling him, you guys are, I'm telling him he ought to be ashamed of himself. He ought to come over from the dark side. I said, you guys are doing things that you've never done in the 100-year history of your agency, and I said, and you're swatting misdemeanor defendants, and he goes, well, that's only happening under special circumstances, and I'm like going, dude,
what special circumstances?
You never ever. And I asked him. I said, did you? And I said this. I said, did you ever, before January 6th, even investigate a misdemeanor case? And it's what he did. He went. And then when he was standing outside of the door of the courtroom last month, when my trial date was, the courtroom door was still locked, and I walked up to him and I shook his hand. He goes, "Good to see you." And I went, "Is it?
Is it?
Is it?" And he went, again.
I also love this notion that like Chris Wray is pretending that the FBI is like objective and nonpartisan. Right. Do you remember seeing those pictures of the FBI agents taking a knee for George Floyd back in the day? Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, there was a picture taken outside. I believe it was outside of DC.
They called them
these FBI agents are there taking a knee for like racism or whatever.
It was a BLM march, and they called them Kneel Team 6.
Yeah, the Kneel Team 6.
Oh, that's so embarrassing.
It's so terrible. But then they have like Comey was out there like, I'm with her voting for like Hillary and Kamala, like all of these things, them
very objective,
them pushing out these like pride mess, like happy pride. Like, are you joking me? This is a left-wing secret police organization. You have to either, like you said, burn it down, or like serious reform to make sure that this cannot happen again.
Which I do think, I know you mentioned, Steve, a little bit of criticism for who it was, of course, that appointed Chris Wray in the first place. But I really do believe, I mean, if he's nominating Kash Patel, he understands what time it is, right? You have a man who has gone through such
his interview today, he said he was going to be in the very first hour going to be issuing all the pardons for the January 6ers. So that was
in the first hour.
That's what he said.
He just said that. Did you know that?
Somebody stopped me in the hall and said that to me and caught me by surprise, because I've had my head in this IG report. When did he say that?
All January 6ers?
He said it was in his Time magazine interview today, where he was the person of the year.
You're kidding.
He said in the first hour he will be issuing pardons for the J6ers. Now, he said it might be a case by case if there are any violent ones. I think he kind of did that to hedge so that they didn't have an outrage. But
sure.
I think he's probably going to pardon all of them, especially after the Hunter Biden pardon. I mean, he kind of has to pardon all of them now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was when I think he realized, oh, I have daylight. I'm going to grab onto it, because as soon as Joe's administration announced that he was pardoning Hunter, he put out that statement on Truth Social that was like, so does this mean that I can pardon all the J6ers? Is that, can I go ahead and use that too? And you're like, okay, I see what he's doing here. So, Steve.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Let me read this.
Oh, you got it.
He says, well, there may be more, but I know that he said, I'll be looking at J6 early on, maybe the first 9 minutes. He said he would pardon. Okay. He said he would pardon nonviolent offenders and look at those convicted of violent crimes on a, quote, case by case basis.
There it is, yeah.
Arguing that his supporters have suffered gravely and were greatly punished.
And I'm pretty sure maybe the only violent offenses on that day were done by the FBI.
Right. Steve.
No, that's pretty awesome, and that's the clearest statement he has made thus far. It makes me tingle a little bit right now. Wow. Okay, so that's the first I heard that actual statement. Yeah.
Good.
Pretty.
He's on the record. He's going to do it.
And, you're
going to get your life back.
I think it was yesterday that Alan Dershowitz was on with Glenn, and And Alan made the point. He said, the power of the pardon is so open-ended that just once the president says it, it's done. He doesn't have to sign anything. He doesn't have to issue a decree in writing. I don't have to apply.
Really?
No, all he has to do is say it. And once he has said it, so let it be written, so let it be done.
So then does he, am I to interpret that to mean he doesn't have to name every single person who's in jail who's nonviolent? He just says all the nonviolent ones. I can't speak.
He could say he could do it in a misdemeanor
Easy
class.
for you to say.
Because anybody that committed not everybody that committed a felony, but basically most of the violent perpetrators were felony offenses.
So he could say misdemeanor.
All the misdemeanors. He can say it nonviolent. If he says nonviolent, that includes a whole other class of felons, because there are other people that were charged with serious felonies like seditious conspiracy, nonviolent.
That's right. Wow.
The hammer of justice is coming, America.
It's coming. Ugh, I can feel it. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We need to celebrate for you. I know it's not official, but I'm excited for you. Yeah, I'm excited for you, Steve.
There'll be some celebration.
Well, there's going to be some celebration. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor this segment, Angel Studios. So they've got a new movie coming out. All right. It is called Homestead. It's coming out December 20th. Don't miss it. It is about a nuclear blast that devastates Los Angeles and totally throws the nation into chaos. It's an ex-Green Beret joins a prepper compound. I mean, you can imagine that there's going to be some interesting stories when an ex-Green Beret joins a prepper compound, okay? So make sure, go there. Here's what's really cool about this. If you go to the website that I'm about to give you, angel.com/Sara, you can pre-order your tickets for a chance to win a $300,000 giveaway. It includes 1 Bitcoin, a fully furnished tiny home from Box House, a custom Polaris OHV by Sparks Motors, and everything else you would need if you wanted to start your own homestead. So go to angel.com/Sara, get your tickets, and you will be entered to win over at angel.com/Sara. So, speaking of, we're talking about January 6th and the great news for Steve here, that, has been 4 years of hell and it will soon be over.
I almost had to have my mascara redone.
It will soon be over for you and so many others. But you just had a new report that just dropped on theblaze.com it was you and Joe Hanneman, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And it's an exclusive on Michael Byrd. This was the officer who shot and killed Ashli Babbitt on January 6th. He actually had several disciplinary charges filed against him over the years that he should not have kept his job and been in a position to then later kill Ashli Babbitt. Steve, why don't you, let's fill in. Here is, of course, the moment that happened. Fill us in on the details of this, Steve. This is huge.
In brief, the officer at the time, Lieutenant Michael Byrd, now Captain Michael Byrd. Yes, he's been promoted since the shooting.
Of course he has.
Though we've done stories about the upward mobility of Capitol Police officers is more likely the more disciplinary actions you've had, taken against you.
We like to fail up in the Capitol Police. Yeah.
Well, it's a control issue. And it's as old as politics is. I mean, and it's nothing unusual. I mean, they are the Praetorian Guard of the most powerful organization in the world, the United States Congress.
Most powerful nursing home in the world.
Yeah, right.
No kidding.
You look at McConnell, right? But in brief, we have a whistleblower, an unnamed source that was very high ranking at the time, who was involved in one of these 3 missing disciplinary reports that suddenly came up. And by the way, they don't go missing. A report like that doesn't go missing,
right? Because
they're archived in at least 3 different areas, not to mention email threads. They have the actual disciplinary file. They have their HR file because it has to go there. There's other files that they have to go into. Each one of the departments that review these disciplinary actions has a file on it. So In his particular case, the one that we learned about after we learned from Loudermilk's office a couple of weeks ago that these 3 reports was missing, I got a call from a whistleblower. And he says, okay, I happen to know about one of those reports. He is a whistleblower who has been trusted by us for a couple of years now. He's been right on up to this point. And then, of course, we were able to do more background on this and verify his statements to us. But it's just this simple. I'm just going to jump to the punchline. The punchline is this, is that Michael Byrd committed what they call a terminable offense. He was recommended by, at the time it was called Internal Affairs, that has since changed to Office of Professional Responsibility, OPR. But back then, the Internal Affairs report found him guilty, or as they said in their lingo, sustained. And then the disciplinary review panel recommended to the Capitol Police Board that he be terminated for this offense. And then somebody came in and rescued him. Do we know who did? No, we think we probably do, because this happened. His offense happened in Denny Hastert's office. He was the Speaker of the House at the time, and Denny Hastert is about the only one powerful enough as a congressional leader at the time to he can't by law overrule the police board, but all he has to do is pick up the phone and call the chief and say,
wrong arm him.
This needs to go.
Right.
This needs to go away. Bottom line, had he been terminated, he would not have been there on January 6th. Ashli Babbitt would be alive today. Period.
That's incredible.
Now,
which, by the way, hold on. I want to get into some of these. So he abandoned his post to go play a card game.
Yeah.
And then he was eating at his post, and then he lied to investigators, presumably about what I just.
And that's the terminable offense. The first thing, every single Capitol Police officer who we've ever interviewed over these last 3 years have told us, you can just about commit any offense and break any rule and violate any of the codes of, that they have to live by and operate by. But they tell us in the academy, when we're in our basic training, but don't lie. If you lie, you get fired.
Right.
We can pretty much work through any other offense that you commit, but if you lie about it, you're done. Well, all of these officers that we have done stories on, David Lazarus, Harry Dunn, Sean Gallagher, the number 2 man there at the Capitol Police now, has a horrific disciplinary record, also recommended by the disciplinary review panel to be terminated. And he's still there. And now he's the number 2 guy in the department.
Well, and this guy, Byrd, was given $36,000 as a retention bonus in 2021 compared to other officers receiving like $3,000. Listen, I'm not a mathematician. There's a big disparity in those 2 numbers. So I would say something freaking stinks. Logan.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like they're sending their best, probably. I mean, that's kind of just par for the course for this administration. It just seems like in every aspect of government, there are these standards that none of us, if I were working here at the Blaze, if I did half of what some of these people have done, I would be fired like that. Mm-hmm. But these people just keep getting rewarded for terrible, bad behavior, for bad job performance, everything. It's across the board. So, yeah, I don't really have much more to add to that. It's just kind of what we've come to expect. And this is why we need Trump in there to restore greatness on every level.
Some might say, I know we have to go to a break here. We're running out of time, but I would say some might say perhaps maybe these people are failing upwards and getting giant bonuses. Not these people in particular, but just generally speaking, so that you can have someone in the surveillance monitoring room who can just turn a camera on January 6th. So that you can't see what's going on with the pipe bomb. But I'm just saying, maybe you get rewarded if you are a company man. We'll put it that way.
A part of the regime.
A part of the regime.
Or if you know where the bodies are.
Or if you know where the bodies are buried. Well, guess what? We're all going to find out where the frickin' bodies are buried. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Well, we have to close the show out with some good news. Donald Trump, for the second time, is Time Magazine's Person of the Year. Look at that epic picture. There you see the 2016 version and the 2024 version, and he just hasn't aged a bit. And so after, of
aged
course,
in reverse.
He really has. He really has. So after, of course, this announcement, he rang the New York Stock Exchange bell. Here was that moment. He just looks so happy. I mean, I've never seen Trump smile as much as he has in the last several months.
He's alive.
Yeah.
He has something to smile about.
It's so incredible to watch. By the way, there's a longer clip online where the crowd starts chanting USA.
Yep.
At the end. We are so back, guys.
Yeah, we're
so freaking back.
We are so back. I just want the record to reflect that I never once doubted. I always had faith in Donald Trump. I knew he was going to win. I knew he was going to make America great again. It's only the beginning. He's essentially acting head of state right now before he's even in office. It's really weird. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
I'm a big
fan. I don't recall ever seeing anything like it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And he is fulfilling his destiny. He will be a great man of history. He is a great man of history, and we are so back.
I'm on the record as saying that if he fulfills 50% of his campaign promises, he will go down as the greatest president of all time.
And I think he sees that. He knows that, right? I mean,
he's got to fight
he's a smart guy. Of course he does. But he's a smart guy. He knows, he sees where we're at now and how easy it would be to leave that legacy.
All I want for Christmas this year is mass deportations.
Okay, so we have where is it? Okay, look, you can see it better than the audience can, but I showed them yesterday.
Got a Trump?
Yeah, well, no, it's one of our audience members sent me some ornaments, and that one is Tom Homan, and it says, "You'll be home for Christmas."
Right, that's awesome.
And I said, okay, maybe not Christmas, but very shortly afterwards, I guess enjoy your last Christmas here in America, because we're packing your shit up. You'll be lucky if you get a plastic bag to your name. I don't care.
Based.
You're going to get on a bus. It's not going to be a nice one. It won't have AC or heat. And you're going back to Mexico.
They asked Trump another good tidbit from his Time interview today where they said, are there going to be camps for the immigrants? He said, I don't care what happens. He said, however we can get them the hell out of here, that's all that matters.
Well, the state of Texas, that's so epic. The state of Texas has offered, we have all of this land.
But they need to give a lot more than what they're offering right now. I think it was kind of a measly thing that Greg Abbott
did. Well, no one else is doing it.
It was just a thing that Greg Abbott did, I think, for appearances. The amount of acreage, it should have been a lot more.
Well,
so we'll see. I mean, fingers crossed. Hopefully.
Yeah, it's government land. So, I mean.
Well, my Christmas present was apparently announced today.
Yes.
It won't be delivered till January 20th. It's going to be a little late, but
the first 9 minutes, it sounds
it's late, but just in time.
It'll be worth it.
The first 9 minutes. So Christmas presents for all with Donald Trump coming into office here very, very soon. By the way, yeah, you guys, speaking of Christmas, you might be able to still get these in time. Okay, MAGA Moms Club for all of you moms out there. Make sure to go to SaraMerch.com. You can use promo code Sarah10. I think we also have Christmas 25. We'll get you some more savings. So make sure, stock up. We've got shirts, we've got hats, we've got it all over at SaraMerch.com. Gentlemen, thank you guys for being here, and congrats, Steve.